Hey folks, just a quick update before we jump in today. We're going to talk a little bit about the recently announced acquisition of Elliott Bay Marina. And before we do that, I just wanted to make sure that we're clear that we have not spoken to any of the parties involved. These are simply our opinions as tenants of the marina and a former employee of the marina. And just want to make sure that you know that this is our opinion, what we think's coming, and how we feel about Elliott Bay Marina. Thanks.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Float Plan. I'm Matt Maynard along with my good friend and buddy Tim Boyle, and today we have a repeat guest that we wanted to bring on to discuss some very important news that has just crossed our desk. Tim, why don't you make the introduction to our good buddy?
Yeah, so Jordan Glidden from Marina Management LLC. Been friends a long time. He's in the marine industry, absolute wealth of knowledge, and we asked him to come on and talk with us a little bit about one of the headlines that we saw that affects Matt and I and a lot of other Pacific Northwest boaters as we talk about Elliott Bay. So, Jordan, if you don't mind giving a quick background on who you are and who Marina Management LLC is, so everybody knows who we're talking to, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me again. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, my name's Jordan Glidden. Started my marina career at Elliott Bay Marina. Worked there for 10 years. Started as a dockhand, left as general manager. Now I work for a company called Marina Management LLC, like Tim said. Manage the marinas over on at Leschi, over on Lake Washington. Essentially, we are a marina management company. We come in and rebuild marinas, run marinas for people who might not have the expertise or the time. Our staff's comprised of marina professionals, so we can do just about anything in the marina space.
Yeah, and if you hadn't heard, recently, the company that had purchased Elliott Bay a number of years ago, Southern Marine, is being acquired. Tim, why don't you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, Southern Marinas purchased Elliott Bay, and they were privately held at the time. And Jordan, what exactly was your title there when all this happened?
I was the harbor master at the
You were
time.
you were the harbor master.
hmm
Okay, so can you tell? I'm going to tell the story, but I'd like you to put in a little bit of color
hmm
of who the ownership group was when it was private.
hmm
What that sort of look and feel was, and then talk about the transition to Southern.
hmm
But yeah, that's what ended up happening is the marina went from private ownership. Southern Marinas came in and acquired it. And now we just found out a couple days ago, they've decided that they're going to sell it to a company called Stonepeak. And so we're in for a new evolution of ownership at Elliott Bay Marina. And we've seen that turn around or turn over quite a bit too, as we have Bryce and Dave now that are harbor master and general manager, also both good friends, great guys. I think the marina's in absolutely wonderful hands. But this ownership change, I think, does warrant a bit of a conversation to say, what might this look like? What might any of us have as, a wish list item, to think about what's coming with this new ownership group, and then talk about why I think a marina management company might be a good alternative to having just a private ownership group and having just a single asset marina. And that's why we brought Jordan on, was to discuss some of that today. So Jordan, if you want to walk us through the evolution of private to Southern, and then maybe we
Yeah,
can talk a little bit about what we think might be coming next or what we'd like to see.
yeah. So Elliott Bay, it was built by a local businessman, John Kaiser, founder of Expeditors International. Him and a group of also local boaters, mostly the family of Manson Construction. They permitted the marina, which took 10 plus years to do. They built the marina and they were the ownership group up until 2021 when they got an offer from Southern Marinas and KSL Capital, and they decided to sell. Southern took over in July of 2021. And yeah, it kind of just went from there. First year was no real changes. And then, they made some improvements to the property. I know they recently added Wi-Fi. So it's really just kind of interesting to see what they did, and now they're getting out. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the new group comes in and does.
What's interesting is Elliott Bay has always been one of the premier marinas in Seattle and the Puget Sound. And until that Wi-Fi was installed, it was almost a dead zone right there where the marina was. So here you have basically the nicest marina in the area with very limited cell service, very limited Wi-Fi availability. So the infusion of capital to some of these marinas is definitely going in the right direction. And we actually think that this could be another good step for the marina. Additional capital being invested into the marina. It's going on what, 30 years now, Jordan? Is about the age of the marina.
Yes, I believe it opened in 92 or 93. So
Oh.
about 33 years.
So it's like anything else, everything needs to be updated as it ages, and we started to see that process with Southern, and we really hope that we see that continue as we do. We think will happen with the new ownership group.
Well,
We've
and
seen,
also with
like,
this ownership group too, coming in, I think if they really do a good job of keeping the Elliott Bay family and Elliott Bay family, everything from the Thursday night sailing series to so many of us boaters that have gone from a smaller boat to a bigger boat and gone slip to slip and had boats on different docks and done other things. I think it's an opportunity to really keep that Elliott Bay crew as tight as it is.
Absolutely. And I think it'll be interesting. KSL Capital, who currently owns it, they're the largest resort owners in North America. They own golf courses, ski resorts. I kind of looked up Stonepeak, and they're more of like an infrastructure real estate type deal. They currently have no marina properties, but have a lot of big, like, industrial marina ports. So it'll be interesting to see their view on how they view kind of the recreational side of the marine industry versus the industrial and commercial side.
well, one nice thing is they should be able to bring some of that industrial expertise into the recreational side and just like you said for infrastructure. So instead of doing a lighter weight, something that maybe a recreational firm might do, they'll take a more of a long-term, hey, this needs to last, this needs to be able to go through the type of conditions we have here in the Northwest, which are
Mhm.
every area is a little different. Our Pacific isn't quite as salty as the Atlantic. We're not, we don't, we're windy, but it's just that we don't have the humidity, but we have other factors that play in that other areas may not have. So, along with, we in the Northwest, we greatly value our water and the cleanliness of our water. And I can tell you firsthand, boaters are more worried about it than anybody else. I know we tend to get the brunt of the boaters are the problem in the Northwest when actually we're the ones trying to help it more than anybody else. So hopefully this new firm will continue that, and we look forward to seeing what they do. So what somebody like you, Jordan, though, I think you with what you guys do and the just the vast amount of experience that you guys have could really play well and bring a lot of resources and knowledge base, especially into LA Bay, into a space that they may not be aware of. What are some of the things that you think that you could offer to them just in terms of just from a marina management, maybe not personally, to a firm like this that comes in and has the resources to be able to improve the marina?
I guess look at what they want to do. It's all long-term planning. I mean, Elliott Bay is a great property. It has a lot of the amenities and everything. So, I mean, how can you make that better? I think some of the opportunities there, a big opportunity is to do something with the restaurants. They're original. I think, for having 1,200 boats right there under your nose, um, having very good restaurants. So when people are down there, when you guys are down there staying on your boats, you can walk up the dock and go have a nice dinner, go have a drink in the bar or something. If you're coming down to the boat, you can get something to go down there. I think that's the biggest opportunity to change that property is I don't know whether it's a rebrand or remodel or just freshening up the space. I think that could be a giant area for them.
Can I remember being a kid? I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest, and when I was in college, first year at UW, my grandmother used to take me to Palisades for that brunch, and I still remember that to this day. That was what, 94, 95 in there. And
Hmm.
that was really, Palisades restaurant was really something special in the day. Uh, and I think having that, it was a destination and Elliott Bay is a destination marina. Definitely. It's set apart from everything else. It's quiet. You don't get road noise. It's kind of set apart in a serene point. So it works out really well. We do get the cruise ships that come in, which is kind of fun now since Seattle is such a big cruise ship destination. But like you said, having a fine dining up on the top floor with the burger joint basically down below, more casual. I mean, I always thought it was great when you could go down on a winter day into Maggie's down below, and they would serve you prime rib chili from the prime rib from Palisades the day before, and it was some of the best chili in Seattle.
I remember that chili well.
I don't know that they do that anymore. Did you ever try that, Timmy?
No, I never had the chili. I didn't spend a ton of time at Maggie Bluffs, but yeah, I'll echo the sentiment on the Sunday brunch at Palisades. I think every Northwest family that had a big event, that if that wasn't where they went, it was definitely on the list in the top five for
Yeah.
consideration. Like that was just spectacular.
There were, you've got two places. You had Salty's in West Seattle that had just the view, which had a fantastic Sunday, especially Mother's Day brunch of all things. But you had that Mother's Day, Father's Day, but then you also had Palisades. Those were the two of the key marquee brunch spots in Seattle, and so we're hoping to see something like that can come back. When my wife and I got pregnant for the first time, and I was able to take her to Palisades, we still talk about that to the day. So Jordan, I think your comment is just spot on. Having a great restaurant there to be able to enjoy, and there's nothing better than down looking over the boats as you look at downtown Seattle. It's such an iconic skyline. We hope they bring that back and really make something special out of it.
Yeah, and it's also a big thing for guest boaters, for transient moorage. I can't tell you over my years there how many people, especially from the South Sound, are going to the San Juans or going to Friday Roach Harbor, and they make it a point to stop at Elliott Bay for a night so they can go to Palisades and have dinner and then continue their journey north the next morning.
Yeah,
Such a
during summer cruising, it's always fun. I mean, I can't even tell you how many text messages and phone calls we get of people calling, "Hey, are you guys out?" And they're not asking, "Are we out to meet up and go cruising?" What they're asking are you out of your slip in Elliott Bay so we can go and use it and dock up and go eat at the restaurant and go hang out that close to downtown.
So, and also I would say also the other thing that I think would do well, and Jordan, I think we talked about this last time, where you helped bring the good wine back into the
Hmm.
field dock fuel station. One of the things I think when Timmy, I forget where we went, but we stopped by the fuel dock. It was in the summer, and we got orange sickles, and it was the best. It was like going back in time. It was like being kids again. I don't know why, just having a well-stocked fuel dock that's got concessions, and hopefully they continue that and then improve upon that. And I will say the fuel dock staff has always been absolutely top notch. They're always there to help. And many times, if it's too windy to get into the slip, they just come on over, we'll give you a hand tie up and then help you get out the next morning. It's always been such a great marina to be at.
That's so much fun. I completely forgot about those orange sickles until you said that. But yeah, remember we were getting fuel to go through the locks on Twin Fish, and Eric went in, and that was the first thing he found was the ice cream freezer. Came back out with those. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, we always have a good time when we're down there. Can't help it. Like so, we're boaters. That's what we do.
Yeah, and that was one of the cool things that did happen with the Southern acquisition when they bought it is they did do quite a bit of a refresh on that fuel dock store. And they brought in some higher end stuff. They brought in some pretty cool, more Elliott Bay as a destination type merchandise, hats and sweatshirts and some neat stuff that it just hadn't seen before. I think it was a little bit more of a marine store before, and it turned into maybe a little more of a lifestyle boating type fuel dock. And it's cool because the general public can walk down there. I mean, that dock's open throughout the course of the day, and so people can walk down and maybe get a little bit of a feel for what that marina is, without actually signing a lease and putting a boat in.
Yeah, yeah. When I was there, we always really stress the whole customer service aspect everywhere in the marina, but especially at the fuel dock, because we know that there was people that would come into the marina and go to the fuel dock, and that was their only interpretation of Elliott Bay.
Yeah.
So if they came in, from Shoal Shoal or Des Moines as they're headed north, or just to top off their tanks out in the bay, if they had a good time at the fuel dock, that's what we wanted them to experience.
Now, as you come into the fuel dock now, if you end up going on the north side and you happen to see a boat there named Twinfish, just say hi to Timmy while you're there. It's worth it. I guarantee it'll be worth your time.
A quick wave.
Oh, but no, it's what other type of projects do you see, Jordan, that would be definitely helpful as this new firm comes in? for Elliott Bay to implement on? Just things that you noticed when you were there, just long-term capital investment projects. What are some of the more positive things or things that people want that they could definitely install down there at Elliott Bay?
Yeah, well, managing a marina is a lot like owning a boat. There's always stuff breaking that needs to be replaced. So a lot of the stuff at Elliott Bay is probably a lot of stuff that you might not see. A lot of the original infrastructure that, needs to be upgraded or replaced. There's new codes in place for certain things like, fire suppression, and stuff like that. I'm dealing with that on Lake Washington right now. Our marinas were built in between the 1940s and 1960s, and that's all original infrastructure. So I'm dealing kind of with the same thing over there as we go through marina rebuilds. But, you know, if you're at a property like Elliott Bay, you want everything to be working. You want your power to work, you want your water to work, you want your docks to look nice. So just to keep up with the what's the word here? The allure of Elliott Bay, I mean, bringing in a new firm that has a lot of resources will be great just to keep that property updated and to serve the boaters.
I would imagine at some point we'll probably see some electrical changes happening, which brings us back to some of the stuff that you may have seen in our last podcast when it comes to battery power, that type of thing. But things to always be prepared for long term. All marinas will eventually go to the new electrical GFCI. I forget what the exact term is. Jordan, you probably know or off the top of your head, but or ELCI, I'm sorry, where boats will start to need transformers and that type of a thing. And over time, the power draw on boats has gotten greater and greater. The amount of power these boats demand is increasing exponentially. And as we move slowly into electric power, which we are starting to see, that too will change. Charging stations, there will be a greater demand for electricity. So I would imagine a firm that is purchasing Southern has the resources to be able to plan for the long term and come up with a viable solution to what is an ever growing thirst for power, electrical power.
Yeah, power is becoming more and more important, especially at Elliott Bay with their presence of super yachts. I mean, I remember when I was there, a super yacht came in, they wanted 100 amp power, three-phase 480, and I think the last request I had when I still worked there was somebody came in and requested 400 amps, which is three of our transformers put together, and you're still 100 amps short. So it's just crazy the power these boats are requiring, especially the big boys that come into town.
Could you even get that much juice out there? I mean, where were you putting a boat that size?
So each one of the transformers out there could only supply 100 amp three-phase 480 volt.
Yeah.
And that was all we could get from the city.
That even
So
with the cruise terminal right around the corner and all the commercial ships, right? Literally, was that what's it, Port 91 right next to us?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a plethora of power, but anytime you deal with a port, they have the resources they need. But hopefully, as things evolve and change, that they will be able to somehow bring that over to LA Bay again to make it the destination when you have these large super yachts come through. And something we've never really discussed is the amount of resources these super yachts put into our local economies. Many people look at them. We all gawk at them. We don't have as many up here as you would see, say, in Florida or in the Caribbean or even some places in Southern California. But we have a fair number of super yachts that come through our area. And the literally the amount of money that they put into our local economies is staggering. I don't think anyone really realizes how much it is. It's in a lot of different ways. So and that's something we'll probably cover at another topic, another podcast, and see if we can go through one of these super yachts at some point. We do know people. I know a number of people that have a couple of them, so we could probably do that and show people what it's like and just how much these boats keep people employed in our area. So definitely want to support them in the future as well. Well, if they're going to be spending disposable income, let's have them spend it in our state.
hmm
Yeah, and it's great to see even managing the cruise ships to the comment that was made earlier of all that extra traffic around the marina. I think as you look at Elliott Bay as a destination, you just keep in mind, just right at 4 p.m., that's when those things are taken off and headed outbound. So it's really easy to plan your return trip, to where you're not dealing with trying to avoid them. You're not dealing with the wake. You're not dealing with any of that stuff. So if you get yourself in beforehand, or you're far enough out and you're still a little bit north as you're coming back, you get to just watch them go by and there's nothing to deal with. But it's hugging that green can out there, either on your return trip or if you're out there chasing a salmon around, those things come out and all of a sudden it's like, wow, those are big and they go really fast.
Yeah, definitely. And it's I just see it continuing to increase in volume with the number of people that want to visit Alaska and even start here and do a repositioning cruise. I've talked to a number of folks that have done those down. They basically start in Elliott Bay and they start there and they work their all the way down through the canal and up into Florida. So, anything we can do to bring recreational dollars here and leave it here in the Pacific Northwest to employ people is always a great thing. But what else could we see at Elliott Bay? Do you think, Timmy, that you would like to see? I mean, I kind of got my wish list of things that I'd like to see with our boat Anzuelo. But what are the type of projects would you like to see done at Elliott Bay over, long term? Nothing happens overnight. So if what else do you think we could do to help continue to keep the allure of Elliott Bay intact as tenants even?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about it. I think the restaurants and having a place for people to really enjoy Elliott Bay as a property, I think are really, really cool. So I think as long as they keep the restaurants up, or maybe even refresh a concept and turn that into a really, really cool destination to where you're motivated to walk off your boat and go up as you have friends or family down and really enjoy those spaces. I think that's probably the most important thing to me for down there. As far as improving something, I'll selfishly put in a plug. I'd like to see a fish table at the head of each dock. As the former harbor master and GM, Jordan, I can imagine you shaking your head a little about that. But a lot of us that chase fish around would really, really like to see a fish table with a wash down at the end of the dock. So if that's wishful thinking, maybe, but that's certainly out there. But thirdly, I like I said before, I would like to see the Elliott Bay sort of family aspect intact. A lot of people down there have gotten to be really good friends. They've gotten to be close to their neighbors. I mean, a few guys that I'm very, very close with. I met at that marina. They have boats down there. It's just a cool place. And that Thursday night sailing series does a really good job of getting everybody together, gets people in the marina to, come together, chat, and also support, so, some really good charitable, sorry, excuse me, support some really good charitable organizations along the way, while boating and having a hot dog and BSing with everybody. So restaurants, fish table, continue to keep Thursday night sailing and support the charitable side of things. That's really my wish list.
Fish table at the end of end dock actually seems like a pretty reasonable thing. If you can't do it everywhere, it seems like that would be a great spot to put it. It's all the way out at the very end. It would be easy to keep clean. That's where a lot of the summer transient moorage, for smaller fish boats, people just put in for the summer. They go down on N and M docks. Am I correct on that, Jordan? I mean,
Yep.
I
Yep.
think you even had our old little whaler when we had it before we had Blackfin. We kept it down there in the summertime. It was always a lot of fun to go out crabbing, fishing, and everything else right out of End Dock. And Elliott Bay at the time always offered a special for summer moorage for smaller boats, just to keep the slips filled. And then we all worked with one another, and we'd sometimes stack a couple of boats together, and just everyone worked together to make it a fun place. So, and they were always welcoming to us smaller boats. I think at the time ours was only 20 feet or 21 feet. So it's really that end dock could work out really well for just all the way on the, what do you want to call it, the northeast corner, I guess. If you're going to put one, that seems like
Mhm.
it'd be the spot to put it. So one of the
Yeah.
other things I don't think that everyone talks about is the I know it sounds corny, but it's something we all have to deal with when you're on your way back in from cruising the islands or whatever. And you've got a full holding tank, but at that point, you don't want to stop and pump it out. I don't think people realize what the service that LA Bay could offer at the time. And I've honestly never taken advantage of it, but they will actually come and help you pump out your boat, won't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. So they do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Whenever I'm in the city, they show up both days. It's incredible. They've got a great little boat that they run around and it's got a bunch of fenders tied on it. and they pull right up to you and get you pumped out and you're done.
So I'm gonna take the bait. So you're saying you're full of it? Sorry, you set me up. I just had to take it. So every now and
I
then
love
pop
it.
one up.
Yeah, that wasn't even a softball. That was set on a tee for you. Good work.
Yeah, well, I don't get them very often, Timmy. I take them where I can get them.
Uh-huh.
And to touch on that pump out program, that was kind of created so, to one, alleviate the pressure at the fuel dock, the only pump out station on the fuel dock. And then also that was part of the Clean Marina certification to, um, kind of help people get rid of their sewage without, might be tempted to dump it overboard coming down the sound. But you can go back to your slip and the Elliott Bay guys will come around on Tuesday or Thursday and take care of that for you.
See, it's not just one thing, it's a lot of little things that make marinas like Elliott Bay a special place to be able to keep your boat. I can't tell you how many times we've gone down and just stayed the night at the marina. We didn't even leave. And watching the sunset from the flybridge, watching downtown as it turns that electric blue and the lights come on, it's so hard to beat. It's just such a neat place. We the nice thing, and Jordan, you could probably tell us, we do get some seals, but we don't get the sea lions that some of the other marinas tend to get. And I don't know why that is, but I haven't seen the sea lions at Elliott Bay very often.
I think I only ever saw one sea lion on the dock, and let me tell you, terrifying in person.
They're
When you
huge.
when you see that thing on the dock, you just turn around and walk back the other way. The harbor seals are, a little bit more manageable, but yeah, you won't win that battle against a sea lion on the dock.
So I've got a funny story about a sea lion, just as a kind of a separate tangent. We were taking a boat down the coast that we had sold, and we stopped, I think it was in Newport, Oregon, or somewhere in Oregon, and we had to get up in the morning to fuel before continuing on. And I was a little bit younger, and so I thought, okay, well, we'll get the bow of the boat up by the sea lion that was sitting at the fuel dock, to try to scare it off. Well, the bow didn't scare it off. Oh, I'll just hop off and I'll run down and scare him off. I got about 20 feet from him. It was a big male sea lion. He reared up, and I realized he was a lot taller than me, rearing up, and started lunging towards me, and he started chasing me. I turned around, hightailed it to the back of the boat. He had almost caught me in a dead sprint. By the time I got to the back of the boat, I literally jumped over into the cockpit as he came up right beside the boat, and I still to this day am scared to death of sea lions. So they are no joke. They are big. Yeah, you don't mess with the sea lion. So I had one other instance at LA Bay. I was walking to go pick up a boat to come take it to a boat show, and was going down the dock. It was still dark outside, and didn't realize there was a seal in the way. I smelt him first, and then he wasn't going to move. So I ended up having to go up to the top of the dock, grab a dock cart, and bounce it down the way to get him to move. But yeah, we are in their territory. This is their place. So we are just trying to enjoy it. So the marine life definitely rules the roost.
I can't tell you how many fish have almost gotten themselves back in the water with the help of one of those little harbor seals. Whenever you come back and there's multiple fish, I mean, Jordan, you've seen that on the side of the
Mhm.
boat. We're
Oh,
sitting there
yeah.
filleting and we've got two or three silvers laid out. Next thing you know, there's one of them that's kind of distracting you over here, looking for the scraps to go in the water. And there's another one that's eyeballing that silver that's over by the hose.
Mhm.
Oh, it's looking like it's going to jump up and get it. So I've never lost one yet. Jordan, you?
I have not lost one, no. I've been lucky
Okay.
enough to keep them all.
One of the other fun things too, maybe people don't know that if you're not from the Seattle proper area, you can go crabbing literally right outside the dock from Elliott Bay in the summertime. We would love to do that. This when we took our whaler at the time, or our blackfin out, and then was it last summer or summer before, Timmy? We took Enzuelo out, and I think it was the first time you got to see Mason with a whole huge pot of full of crab. So it is possible, literally 5 minutes outside the marina. We've got very good crabbing out there on the crabbing days that we do have left. And I've got a couple of little honey holes that I tend to do pretty well in. Uh, I'm going to leave those secret at the moment, but I do have them marked on a chart plotter. But it offers so much, and you can come back and literally do a crab boil right on the dock. I did that years ago when we had one of our other family boats up, and I think we had 10 or 12 people down, and literally brought the crab cooker down right on the dock, and and had crab right there. Just did a whole, doing sausage, did a whole crab boil. It was a lot of fun. Those are the things that we are fortunate to be able to do in places like Elliott Bay.
Yeah, and I know we didn't intend for this to be a complete love letter to Elliott Bay Marina, but I've realized as we've been talking, that's really sort of what this has turned into. And I would like to say I think this is something to be excited about with Stonepeak coming in. It's a fresh face, it's fresh capital. Yeah, I think we could see a lot of really cool things come into the marina with this happening, and the fact that they're purchasing it means that they're excited about the marina business, which I think is great. I think that's a cool way to have somebody come in and own a marina is when, they're going to come in and be excited about it. So
Absolutely. We wanted to be able to bring this to everybody. Just, hey, look for positive things to continue to happen out at Elliott Bay since the initial sale and now to the second sale to Stone Peak. We anticipate this being quite a positive experience going forward for everybody and the continued improvement of Elliott Bay Marina and what that does for everybody in the area. It's not just Elliott Bay, but that it highlights the marine industry in the Pacific Northwest. So we look forward to that.
perfect. Jordan, anything you want to add? Anything that you see that might be coming, or do you think we covered it all?
I think we got everything pretty covered on this episode. I'm just gonna go over to my whiteboard and tick off another day towards boating season. Get rid of this rainy weather and get more of the weather that looks like you're enjoying down there in Arizona.
Oh yeah, sitting here and carefree this time of year is definitely the place to be.
Yeah, this isn't quite our normal podcast, but we wanted to come out and bring this news to everybody and thought it was important enough to do it via this type of a media this time. One of the things that we do look forward to is in the future, we will be visiting a number of other marinas and showing you the positives in some of these other marinas, both private and public, all around the Pacific Northwest, some on Lake Union, probably some in Lake Washington, obviously up in the islands, down in the South Sound as we visit places and do things. This is supposed to be fun for everybody. We're boaters, we love what we do. We love what we're able to do. We want to bring it, and we're also open to lots of ideas. If there's things that have questions about, or maybe something we touched on, and say, hey, why don't you guys talk about this? You brought this up, but you didn't really elaborate on it. Let us know. Send us an email. Shoot us a text. Give us a call. We're easy. We're easy to find.
Good. Well, Jordan, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. The unique perspective into Elliott Bay and marina management was super helpful. I know being able to pick up the phone and call you and saying, hey, like, I think this is a good thing, and having you say the exact same meant an awful lot when I read this. So thanks for joining us and talking on a Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope to see you guys on the dock soon.
All right, fellas, have a good day, everybody.
Have a great day, guys.
See ya.